Hi there. Welcome back to another mini episode of The Practiced Life. And I'm calling today's episode Make It Your Solstice. Now, I have always been really intrigued by the equinoxes and the solstices and mixed up with some of the Christian traditions I was raised with, like Christmas and Easter and that kind of thing. But I find as I continue my own journey of spiritual expansion and creating my own recipe for how I want to celebrate, what I want to call forth, what I want to bask in, I find it particularly fun to rethink and dream up new traditions for how I can connect to the spirit of each season. And what I've come to love about, and I'm new to this, so I'm no expert. So Google your little heart away to find out more things. This is my dibble dabble, and I'm so intrigued by the winter solstice. It's landing on December 21st this year. So this episode is dropping before that. But if you hit this afterwards, it's all right. You can still come up with your own way and you can still celebrate. I would not limit myself to that, but I think it's kind of fun to look at a year and find different ways to mark the experience of time, to mark the journey you've been on, the journey of, creating the next version of your life, creating the next version of yourself. So the winter solstice, and to my friends in the southern hemisphere, you're in the summer solstice. And that's a different kettle of fish, but same principle applies. The winter solstice for us northern halfers, it is when the sun is at its lowest point in the sky, and we are celebrating the welcoming back of the light. The light is coming back. The actual natural light is coming back. And there's so many ways to take that idea and use it as a metaphor for our own work and our own lives. So I'm looking at that this year. I'm going to have to do things a little different because I'll probably be in the bosom of the Polish-Lithuanian Saladas and the Scotch-Irish, Swedish Anderson clan, flying up to see my family before the holidays, before actual Christmas. But on that solstice, celebrating that light, there's in my Googling originally and continues today, it's a pagan holiday. Pagan not being a bad word or a critical word, it's just different. And it's spirituality that is super in tune with nature, with the earth, with the seasons, with the elements, fire, water, air, earth. And it's an opportunity for me. I see it as an opportunity to bring more of that natural world into my honoring of my life experience. So, there's lots of different ways to do that. I'm very, very fond of a fireplace. I have always been, since I didn't have two nickels to rub together, I've always been fond of candles. Even when I could only afford the little minis that were like 2 cents, because it represented something to me. There was a ceremony or a ritual to it. This year, I planted 7 trees around me. And I did it super intentionally. And I look at those trees as a bit of a ritual and a ceremony. And I'll find some way here right around the solstice to bring them in, to bless them, to allow them to bless me. I'll do some writing. I mentioned the fireplace. One of my favorite rituals ever in personal growth work is the burn ceremony, where you literally were toward the end of 2024. You're at the end of the year. You've had highlights and you've had things that weren't so great, and times you were unconscious, or times where you slip back into old patterns, and just taking pages and writing and writing and writing and writing everything that all your disappointments, your hurts, your hates, your anger, everything, and getting it all on a page, and then offering it to the fire. And in the fire, those words, those feelings, those emotions are cleansed. They are alchemized into smoke. And that smoke goes up into the air. And I think of all of our spirit guides and our spirit teams helping us clear that stuff, and using maybe the solstice for a little bit of that, for honoring how far we've come in our lives, for welcoming and celebrating the return of the light, and for just taking a moment to connect, to put our feet on this earth, to spend some time pondering the fact that our primary home, our primary home are these physical bodies. And these physical bodies, our primary home, it isn't a condo, it isn't an apartment, it isn't a mansion, it isn't a cottage. It's this planet. This is our home. This is the home we've been blessed with. And I want to make sure that my feet are on a path in the woods by my house, and I am breathing in the splendor and the energy and the song of the earth and the creatures, the fellow earthlings who inhabit it with me. So it's really, I think, a cool way to ground yourself and bring yourself toward the end of this year. Using things like this to mark the passage of time, to signal the beginning of something new, because we're going to start bringing the light in, more and more light and more and more light, and we'll get ourselves ready to make a transition into the new energy of a new year with new light and new highlights and new chances for consciousness and new chances for illumination. I mean, I like that. I think that sounds real good. So happy solstice, everyone. And I'd love to hear how you celebrated. I might go pick up some twigs and some rocks, make myself a little something, and really hold that blessing to the end of the year. Like, yeah, this has been a good ride this year. Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you want more of the practice life, if you want to get the episode a day early, if you'd like to join me for our last free event of the year, setting our compass for 2025, you can register. That's going to be on December 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. Go to sherrysalata.com/free network, and you'll have access to all of that. I'll see you next time.